So guys, we are back with another video, and today I'm doing my Premier League predictions for the upcoming 23-24 season. Let's get straight into it. In 20th place, I've got Sheffield United. At Sheffield United, there's been some big departures this summer. And Ndiaye, and also Sander Berge, who by some people were surprised he stayed when they did get relegated. But now he has gone to relegation rivals Burnley. So they've not done enough business, Sheffield United, in my opinion. The only standout name to me out of their five signings who actually knows Austin Trusty, who Arsenal signed, but I don't think he actually played a game for them because he was on loan at, I believe, Birmingham last season for 5 million. I think he's a fullback. Obviously untested in the Premier League. Don't know how he's going to be. And so I've put Sheffield United in the 20th spot. Next, on to 19th, we have Wolves. It's another one where there's been a lot of big departures. Most notably, Ruben Neves, who was their best player for many, many years. Also, Raul Jimenez, cult hero, out the door. Obviously, never the same from that head injury several years ago from David Luiz. But the business from Wolves, I'm looking at it here. We've got Matt Doherty back, who was fantastic for them. First time around, obviously a few years older. Don't know how he's going to be. They've also signed Boubacar Traore from Metz. I believe he's a midfielder, to fill that gap that Ruben Neves has left. But I still don't see where the goals are coming. They still do have some talented attackers like Pedro Neto, Podence, Hwang Chan, even Mateus Cunha. But I don't think they've done enough to stay in the league. Next up, we have a club who has been fighting in relegation battles for the past 2 seasons. It is Everton. Simply because I don't think they've done enough business. Like Sheffield United and Wolves, I don't think they've done enough business. Their business concludes of a loan from Danjuma from Villarreal, who's a decent signing, who will hopefully get goals. But there's players at Everton that need to step up this year. The Calvert-Lewins of the world need to step up. Because the second of Everton signing is actually Ashley Young, a 37-year-old Ashley Young on a free from Aston Villa. A decent player, but we still don't know how good he's going to be. So my bottom 3. In 20th, we've got Sheffield United. In 19th, we've got Wolves. And 18th, we've got Everton. If you're wondering, where's your team? Luton Town. Everybody's saying they're going to go down. Why haven't you put them in the relegation zone? Because I have faith, and I've put them in 17th. Our home form will be crucial, because last season, Nottingham Forest, all of their wins, apart from one, were at home. So that just shows how home form's crucial. I think we've done a lot of business. Just read off some names. Ross Barkley, Tatif Chong, Nakamba. These are all massive signings. And I think we will definitely fight for it. And even if we do go down, it just helps fund the stadium. That's all that matters, really. So if we do go down, I'm not going to be too bothered. But I'm going to say we're going to stay up in the Premier League. After that bombshell of me having Luton outside the relegation zone, we have got Nottingham Forest in 16th. I like Nottingham Forest business, you know. They've signed Chris Wood permanently after a iffy loan spell. They've signed Matt Turner as their starting goalkeeper. And also the big signing is Anthony Elanga. I don't think going into summer anybody would think Nottingham Forest would have the pull to bring Elanga out of Manchester United. But they've gone and done it. And I think the players now have Premier League experience. I think they'll gel and stay up for a 3rd season in the Premier League. In 15th, we've got West Ham. Obviously, we need to talk about departures when we talk about West Ham. Declan Rice for 105 million to Arsenal is a massive blow. Their best player by a country mile last season. And also losing Scamacca. 27.5 million to Atalanta. Really weird signing. They didn't get the best out of him. They barely played him. And going into this new season, they're really struggling, I think, because strikers-wise, I think Antonio's still there. But other than that, they are struggling. I don't know where goals are going to come. David Moyes will be sacked at some point this season. But one positive, that's on Edson Alvarez as a replacement for Declan Rice. So at least they've got a replacement. But I think they're just going to struggle for goals. And being in the Europa League will be tough. I don't know if they'll go the whole distance. But maybe quarters. But 13th, we have Burnley. Some people are putting them in top half, which I think maybe a little bit too far for Vincent Kompany's men. Business-wise, signed a lot of players. Just read off a few. Michael Obafemi, Darragh O'Shea, Nathan Redmond, Sander Berg, who we previously mentioned, leaving Sheffield United. And the biggest transfer, I think, is James Trafford from Man City for 19 million, who was fantastic in the under-21 Euros. We're going to need to see how Burnley do, but I think they're going to be in no danger of getting relegated. 12th, we have an interesting one. It's Crystal Palace, who haven't done a lot in this window, and up until about a week ago, if that, they only signed one player, which was Jefferson Lerma on a free. But they've also signed recently Mateus Franca, a Brazilian from Flamengo, for 26 million. I'll be honest, I don't know who this is. A big departure for Crystal Palace, Wilfried Zaha, who, in my opinion, is their best player. Was their best player. But we're going to need Eze and Elise to fill their boots, but I believe Elise is linked to a move to Chelsea. We'll have to see if that goes through. If it does, I think Crystal Palace may be looking a little shaky, but 11th for Crystal Palace. Unfortunately, I have just realised that I've gone from straight to Burnley in 13th to Crystal Palace in 11th, so I did skip out Fulham, who I've put in 12th. Mitrovic has said he's never going to play for the club again, which is a massive loss of goals. He got like 15 goals last season, and the replacement is a past it Raul Jimenez for 5.5 million, which is definitely not good enough, in my opinion. And they've also signed Calvin Bassey from Ajax, who's like a defender. I never watched him in my life, but could be decent. But I think Fulham, they're going to slightly go down from where they were last season. I think they finished like 10th. So yeah, sorry for skipping out Fulham. Any Fulham fans watching? But now that we've done Fulham, and we did Crystal Palace before Fulham, because I'm an idiot, we're going to go on to 10th. And in 10th, we have Brentford, who the number one talking point is Ivan Toney's betting ban, which means he will not play until the second half of the season, which is a massive loss of goals. They're going to need players like Kevin Sade, who is their who's one of their biggest signings for 20 million after a decent loan spell. They're going to need players like him, Bembo, Wissa. I know Wissa did good last year, but he's need to step up a little bit to fill the gap that Toney left with 20 goals, I think he got last season. So it's a massive gap to fill. Second half of the season, I think Toney will come back firing if he doesn't leave in January. You never know. Other business apart from Kevin Sade, they signed Nathan Collins from Wolves, who's a good centre-back, has proven that in the Premier League for 2 seasons now. We've also got Mark Flecken from Freiburg, new keeper, because they've got rid of David Raya to Arsenal. I think Brentford will be alright, yeah. So now we're going to be moving on to 9th. In ninth, we're going to go with Spurs. I think it's going to be a very poor season for Spurs. Harry Kane is on the verge of leaving to Bayern Munich, and they've not shown anybody they're going to really replace him with, and that is a loss of 30 goals. One of the best strikers in the world, losing that, and then you're going to be left with Richarlison, who hasn't really shown his worth at Spurs yet. It was decent at Watford and then Everton, but hasn't shown his worth at Spurs. Son needs to step up this year, because last year he was poor, and he needs to try get better, honestly. Son needs to fill very big boots of Harry Kane, but I just don't see them getting Europe. With the signings they've made, Maddison, fantastic signing. Solomon from Shakhtar Donetsk was great at Fulham last season. Great squad player. Pedro Porro, he was average on loan. Mickey van der Ven from Wolfsburg, couldn't tell you anything about him. I think he's a centre-back. And also Kulusevski, who I think that was a 2-year loan. I feel like it's kind of felt like he's been there permanently, but it was actually a loan, so they signed him as well. And also Guglielmo Vicario from Empoli, future goalkeeper. I don't know if he's going to push Luis out straight away, but without Harry Kane, I just don't see Spurs doing well. In 8th place, we're going to go with Brighton, who I think they will struggle slightly with being in Europa League. I think it will definitely stretch that squad. Departures, 2 big ones for Brighton. Alexis McAllister to Liverpool, it was fantastic for them. And also Robert Sanchez to Chelsea. So, signings-wise, they've replaced Robert Sanchez with Bart Verbruggen, who's a youngster from Anderlecht for 16 million. And to replace McAllister, signed 2 midfielders. I don't know if you say they're like-for-like replacements. So we've got Dahoud, who has had his injury problems at Borussia Dortmund, and also James Milner on a free, who is an interesting signing at 37. Other signings, we got João Pedro from Watford. Hopefully he can fill that striker position and get some goals, because that's what they were really lacking last season. Evan Ferguson was good, but wasn't the starting striker. Matoma's going to need to perform again if they want to get anywhere near the European spots. I think they will do well in the Europa League. Maybe not win it, but 8th place for Brighton, I think, is a fair for them. Let's move on to 7th. And in 7th, I'm going to go with Chelsea. Let's just touch on the departures. Havertz, 65 million. Kovacic, 30 million. Loftus-Cheek, 17 million. Mason Mount, 60 million. 18 million for Pulisic. Their midfield has been severely hit. They've signed Ogachukwu, I can't pronounce his name. Robert Sanchez from Brighton, new goalkeeper, should do well. Nkunku for 52 million is injured and is out till Christmas. Also, Alex Disasi and Nicholas Jackson will need to perform. There's a lot of what ifs with Chelsea season. When Nkunku gets back at Christmas, will he do well? Bundesliga Golden Boot winner last season, but we do know that players from the Bundesliga can be iffy. Just for an example, Werner and Havertz, just name them two. I think it's going to be very much a developmental season with Pochettino and Chelsea, so I'm going to put them in 7th. In 6th spot, I'm going to go with Aston Villa. Emery at the wheel, fantastic signings they've made. Yuri Tielemans on a free from Leicester. Pau Torres for 33 million. Exciting centre-back. Wanted to work with Emery again, but this time, instead of at Villarreal, it's in the Premier League with Aston Villa. And also Moussa Diaby is a very interesting signing who will hopefully produce a lot of goals. They need Watkins to stay fit, because other than that, they don't really have any great striker. Diaby to do well, and a rock-solid defence. And I genuinely believe Aston Villa will get 6th. In 5th place, we're going to go with Manchester United, who have signed Mason Mount from Chelsea to improve that already strong midfield with Fernandes, Casemiro, Eriksen. They've also signed Rasmus Højlund as their new striker for 72 million. And also Andre Onana as a replacement for David De Gea, who we'll need to see how he does as well. But I just don't... Man United may well get top 4, but I'm going to predict that they're not. Because my team in 4th, everyone's doubting. And let's get to them. 4th place, the club a lot of people are doubting just because they've got Champions League football. This may be a bold prediction that may turn out to be wrong. But in 4th place, I'm going to go with Newcastle. The signings, fantastic. Harvey Barnes, 39 million. Proven Premier League winger. Sandro Tonali for 55 million is a fantastic signing. Can I just say that? And Tony Livramento for 32 million. That just improves that defence. And maybe the future fullback for Newcastle's new era after Trippier. He may have to go out on the left. These are all fantastic signings. We'll have to see how they settle. But Wilson and Isaac could be fierce in attack. Anthony Gordon needs to kick on now. At the start of his first full season with the club, I believe. And we're going to move on to our number 3 spot. In 3rd, we're going to go to Liverpool. I think there's been a lot of change at Liverpool. Obviously, the likes of Jordan Henderson, Firmino, Keita, Milner, Oxlade-Chamberlain, Fabinho leaving. There's a lot of outgoings and not many ingoings. We've got McAllister for 35 million for Brighton and Szoboszlai for 60 million. Hopefully, they can do well and improve that midfield, which needed improving with all these departures. And I still think they need a defensive midfielder. They may get Caicedo, although he doesn't seem like he wants to go there. If not, they'd have to go for Lavia, who doesn't have a lot of Premier League experience, but... And I'm going to pick the 3rd place finish for Liverpool. In 2nd, we are going to go with Arsenal. Signing Declan Rice, Havertz and Timber to hopefully challenge for the title, but I think they're just going to miss out on it. All fantastic signings, but I think Manchester City are a league ahead. And speaking of Manchester City, I think they're going to win the league again. Won 4 of the last 5. You'd be stupid not to think Manchester City will win the league. I think Arsenal will definitely push them more than last season. Obviously, because the Saliba injury costed them. But now you've got Saliba, Gabriel, Timber and Ben White as your centre-back options. So I think that they've definitely prevented that. And they've just improved their team ridiculously. Like Kovacic and Gvardiol, they would have won the league if they didn't have them, because they just have so much depth. Like in the midfield, if they didn't sign Kovacic, they had Rodri, Bernardo Silva, De Bruyne, and Foden could play in the midfield as well. And if they didn't sign Gvardiol, they've got Ake, Diaz, Stones, Akanji, and Laporte. Like, they didn't need Gvardiol, but they've spent over 100 million, and it's just ridiculous. And I think Man City are going to win the league again. I think I did leave out Bournemouth. I may be wrong. This will be cut out in the edit if I didn't leave out Bournemouth, but I think I did leave out Bournemouth, who will be in 14th. So, yeah.